Hi, brave boys and girls. My name is Logan Browning, and I am so excited I get to read you a story for the National Women's History Museum's Brave Girls Virtual Storytime. Today's book is called Equality's Call, and it's written by Deborah Diesen, illustrated by Magdalena Mora. I'm so excited to read you this book. It's very special and important to me. Did you know that it's been 100 years since the ratification of the 19th Amendment? And while this very important amendment gave a lot of women the right to vote, many still had to fight for that right. Voting is one of the most important things we can do as citizens. And there are so many incredible trailblazers who fought for everyone, not just some, to have that right. So, without further ado, let's read Equality's Call together. In 1776, the founders of the United States of America declared that consent of the governed would be a key component of our country. The founders didn't always agree on everything, but they did all believe that the power of our government should come from the will of the people, and that citizens would express their choices by voting in elections. But at that time, only some people were allowed to vote. Citizenship, which is the legal status of being a member of a country, and the right to vote, sometimes called the franchise, political franchise, or suffrage, were not available to all. As our nation grew, our understanding of democracy and rights grew too. Many people stood up and spoke up about abolition, the end of slavery, about citizenship, about enfranchisement, and about civil rights, which means equal opportunity for all. They also worked to end voter suppression, which is the practice of discouraging or preventing people from voting. They heard equality's call. Our founders declared when our country began that consent of the governed was part of the plan. Through voting, elections, and representation, the voice of the people would strengthen our nation. In fact, though, for years, this great founding ideal was extended to some and for others, not real. But we heard in the distance equality's call. A right isn't a right till it's granted to all. The states set the rules about who got to vote, and your gender, your race, and your wealth were of note. White men with property went to the polls, but the rest of the people were left off the rolls. The dream of democracy wasn't yet true. There were changes to make. There was work still to do. But we heard growing clearer equality's call. A right isn't a right till it's granted to all. The rules about wealth were the first thing to go. As more were enfranchised, their voices would grow. And a small group of voices was raising the fact that enslavement was wrong, an unspeakable act. Good people stood up for the truth that they knew. Abolition and suffrage were long overdue. We heard ever louder equality's call. A right isn't a right till it's granted to all. There was war in our nation, and slavery ended. Amendments were added, the franchise extended. Now, more men could vote, at least so the law said. Yet, denial through taxes and tests was widespread, and the voices of women were mostly omitted. In only some states was their voting permitted. But nothing could muffle equality's call. A right isn't a right till it's granted to all. Suffragists didn't give up on the fight, and the 19th Amendment gave women the right. But voters of color still met with oppression. Their voting was hindered by brutal suppression. So we passed legislation to make voting fair, to extend and protect voters' rights everywhere. We heard it, we felt it, equality's call. A right isn't a right till it's granted to all. The journey's not over. The work hasn't ended. Democracy's dream must be constantly tended. But where we are now is a debt that we owe to the work of more people than we'll ever know. And each time we vote, we acknowledge that past. We honor our rights to ensure they will last. For to vote is to answer equality's call. And each time we vote, we vote with them all. Thank you so much for spending time with me and listening to this wonderful story called Equality's Call. You can go to womenshistory.org to see more resources about this book and to see incredible exhibits about so many brave women who have changed the history of our world forever. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.